Woke up today, smile on my face. May not go my way, still got my face, so I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
Welcome back to the Queen's Table. Today we're breaking down something we all experience but don't always recognize in the moment. Our stress responses. When life hits hard, do you fight back, run away, or shut down completely? The way we react to stress isn't just about the moment. It's shaped by our past, our trauma, and even our nervous system. In this episode, we're exploring the fight, flight, and freeze responses, how they show up in our daily lives, and most importantly, how we start responding instead of just reacting. Let's get into it.
All right.
So, Queens, the fight, flight, or freeze are the three most basic stress responses. They reflect how your body will react to danger. Fight, when your body feels that it is in danger and believes you can overpower the threat. You'll respond in fight mode. Your brain releases signals in your body, preparing it for the physical demands of fighting. Some of the signs of a fight response are tight jaws, grinding of teeth, urge to punch something, a feeling of intense anger, a need to stomp and kick, crying in anger, a burning or knotting sensation in your stomach, attacking the source of the danger. Okay. So I wanted to start off by defining that because that's that was what my response was during this time. Okay.
So you were fight.
Yes, I was in fight mode. But let me tell you something. And this is what I realized. I was fighting the situation at hand, the people, the job and all that kind of stuff. Fighting y'all, fighting that. But I think what I realized recently is I was fighting Michelle harder than anybody. When I would think back to, what happened to my husband, so much guilt started to rise up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't have settled. You should have did this. You should have fought for him. Even though I was only 22 at the time of his murder. It's just like this overwhelming guilt started to raise in me. So along with fighting everybody and everything around me, okay, I was also fighting Michelle.
Yeah.
You understand? And I did not really make that connection till I really started kind of like, familiarizing myself again with this response and understanding that that's what was taking place in me. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's so important for us to understand this because it helps us when we have to deal with conflict or things that we know is going to stress us out. Because you know that what you're likely to be because of what you went through in the past. These responses just don't come out of nowhere.
They're results of
You know what I'm
something.
saying? They're results of something. So thank you, Shell. So that's what, I'm just really kind of gaining some understanding of. And as much as I didn't want to, because, as believers, we've been taught, let go of the things of the past.
Let go and let God.
We're moving forward. But I really had to take time and really, kind of work through some of those past experiences to get me to a place now that I'm not responding in the same way I was responding 6 months ago or 9 months ago or even 3 months ago. But understanding, Michelle, you don't have to allow what has happened to you to continue to have you in fight mode. It's time for you to let God fight for it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that's where I'm at now. I'm tired of fighting y'all.
So is anybody flight?
I'm flight.
You flight?
I'm going to be out.
I know, that's right. Deuces.
I'm going to be out. And, I didn't work for the city of Philadelphia, but I worked for another organization where I was bullied for the most part. I was supervised by a younger white woman who I think, and I don't know, but I do think was a bit intimidated by me.
Of course. I can tell you that.
And so whatever I did, she questioned.
Mm.
One thing about me and anybody who knows me knows, you can't tell me nothing about health. Whether it's physical health, whether it's mental health, whether it's emotional health, my whole life has been about improving the health and well-being of the
Right.
communities that I serve.
Yes, I know that.
I went to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
I research it.
Yes,
Like you look
that's
at
right.
the books in my house,
Mhm.
everything is about health and well-being. And so I remember being tasked to do some online trainings. And in one of the trainings, I was talking about health equity.
Mhm.
And one of the slides said that health equity is something that can impact a lot of different populations. She wanted me to change it to disadvantaged populations. And I said no. And I don't know if she wasn't ready to hear no from a Black woman, but I told her no. And she said, well, it's really about disadvantaged communities. And I said, health equity has nothing to do with advantage or disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I said, health equity, really, when we talk about in the healthcare system, is about structural racism. I said, so it can impact I don't care if you have 50 million letters behind your name, if you own a home, if you're married, if you have money, you can be impacted in a negative way by structural racism within the healthcare system. She wanted to argue me down.
What?
I'm going to send the papers. Okay. So I sent her a bunch of articles because this stuff is not coming from my head.
Right. Like
This is coming from my schooling and the things that I've learned and the things that I've worked on. From that moment on, I was targeted.
Wow.
Nothing I could do was right. And for the first time in my professional career, I felt inadequate. I started questioning myself like, well, maybe she is right. Maybe I don't know as much as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was this whole just really going down a rabbit hole of questioning everything that I had been taught. And it started, of course, I'm feeling this way. So then I'm making more errors because now I'm really messing up. And so it called, and I told Michelle, I said, listen, I got to leave because I'm now to the point I'm so stressed and feeling so inadequate that I'm drinking during the day.
wow.
It's 1:00 in the afternoon and I'm having a glass of wine to be able to get through meetings,
In
to
my
be
Stanley.
able to, right, in a coffee cup,
Right.
to be able to
Right.
engage with her. Because whenever I had to meet with her, I felt so much anxiety and so much pressure that I needed the wine to take the edge off.
Wow.
And I was at that job 5 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days.
Mm.
And they were paying me a lot of money. And I left.
Mm.
And I went back to my old job. And the only reason I left my old job was because they were paying me $50,000 more more than the old job was
So
paying
duh.
me.
Right.
Money ain't everything.
I know that.
Money ain't everything. And so my response was to take myself out of that environment
Yeah.
because I realized that I was emotional eating.
Mhm.
I was emotional drinking. I was crying during the day. I said, this
That
job
is
ain't
not you.
fitting to
Mm-mm.
have take me out of here.
Yeah.
And so I'm absolutely flight. And
I
I
know
rolled
that.
up out of there.
Mhm.
And that's how bullies make you feel
Yeah, I mean.
inadequate.
Yes. Question everything. I
Yes.
mean, I done been in school, I feel like my whole entire life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It had me questioning everything that I had learned. This interaction with this woman, and I was just like, maybe I don't know this.
Mhm.
I mean, it really had me, it just impacted my self-esteem in such a
Wow.
way that had never happened to me before.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
That's
I'm
sad.
flight. What are
Yeah.
you?
I am definitely freeze.
Okay.
Mm.
I am definitely freeze. I panic. I shut down. I can't think. I can't verbalize my thoughts. I panic, and I'm no good to myself.
And that's not good.
Nope. Nope. Every situation that I've been put in, every vulnerable situation on the job, I have frozen. And I just sat there and took what they gave me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. It's a
Uh,
hard place to be in.
It is a hard place to be in. It is.
I feel like I'm trying to think about myself. Like I feel like I'm low key a freeze. And Mom, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because even when I went through that, the situation with the lady, I ain't gonna go into that yet. But I was just letting her talk about me. Remember, she was just saying I would just let her.
You
and
freeze. You
I
kind of
think,
freeze.
yeah, I feel like I'm a
Yeah.
little bit of freeze, because it's just like, however you need to make yourself feel better, okay. And I feel like I don't have to respond to certain things. Now, when I finally respond to where I feel like that little bit of fight kicked in, I felt liberated. Like, I felt so good. Like, I laid her out. And I really
Okay,
felt good
Lucy.
about it. Right. Like, I felt good about myself. But that's not my norm. Like, normally I can be like, okay, whatever. You can say what you want to do. Like, it's not affecting me. You don't really, have that much influence in my life to change nothing. So it's like I can just shut down and be cool. But it's like I can understand why people would fight, because it's like it feels good low key. Like, okay, like, but then I can understand the flight too. Like, if I'm uncomfortable in the situation, let me just get up and leave. Let me get it, because that's safe for everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I wanted to fight.
Right, exactly. But
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been
But I
safe.
didn't want to go to jail.
Yeah.
There's there's consequences. So it's like I can understand all of them, but I feel like I'm more of a freeze.
And again, a lot of it is shaped by our past and what we've been through. So it's sort of like these responses happen because for a reason,
Right.
based on what we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was fight before this situation.
Yeah.
You know
All
what
the
I'm saying?
fight came
I felt like when I would get stressed, I could freeze, sometimes flight, but the fight that came up in me when all this took place, that was not me. I felt like that was just something else.
You were a different
what I'm saying?
person.
Yeah.
You were, but I think also that can be a protective factor.
Mhm.
I think sometimes we become someone else because the people who we actually are
Right.
aren't prepared to deal with what we're going through.
Right.
I feel like the Michelle prior to the situation would have just been sobbing all the time.
Yeah.
But I felt like this other Michelle came up and was like,
It was time.
it was time to
Yes.
raise it up.
Yes.
And I like you said, I think it does become a part of, a strategy that you work on because of things that you've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like growing up, I was always a fighter, and it didn't get me anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get me anywhere. There have been things that I've experienced in life with our father, where I felt like I needed to raise up and I needed to be vocal and I needed to speak up and say the things that nobody else could say, and particularly the adults around me that I felt like should have been saying it, weren't saying it. So at 16, 17, I'm going to go ahead and call a thing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it didn't fix anything, it felt like, why did I even raise all up like that when nothing got resolved? Because he was still going to be who he was going to be.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And so I think because of situations like that, I've just decided that, I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. And I think thinking back then, it would have been a lot easier for me to walk away from those conflicts, like just to remove myself because, I still deal with the trauma of those fights,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Do you feel like how do you think as a result of you fighting, like, how do you feel either within yourself and your professional world?
If I could do it all over again, it would be so. I don't know if I would. It almost. I want to say sort of like I feel like I went through a situation somewhat that felt like it was out of my control,
Yeah.
or I lost control. I could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I would. I know I wouldn't do it the way I did it, but I just what I wish I would have did is just got like really like real help. and removed myself. I wish I was flight and just kind of removed myself from the situation, but I remained in it.
Right.
And I fought really hard the whole time I was in it.
Well, I think part of it is because you were not only fighting for you.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
This wasn't
It's not
about you.
Mhm.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the trauma and the way that they responded to it absolutely impacted you.
Right.
But you were really fighting for the communities that you serve.
I
Mhm.
was. Lord
That's a
knows
good
I
point.
was.
You
Yeah.
were
I
like,
was.
this
Yeah.
can't, they
This
don't
not
deserve
right.
this.
This
This
is
is
not
not
right.
right.
And it's
And
like,
they-
what if you would have froze, or if
Yes.
you would have flight? Then
Mhm.
what would have been the impact of that?
Mhm.
Yeah, that it wasn't right, and I just still, it makes me, that fight mode just kicks. See, it just rose up
There you
just a
go,
little
there
bit
you go,
right
there you
there.
go.
Because it's like thinking about, how people can conduct themselves with vulnerable populations. It's just, Jackie, like, it's unbelievable what
unbelievable.
people have gotten away with and still have
Wow.
their jobs.
Mhm.
Right.
It's city workers. It's unbelievable.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. And how we were treated
Mhm.
because of what we reported. Unbelievable.
Mhm.
So but I'm learning healthy coping skills. I'm learning how to, kind of stop and remember I can't control, you know what I'm saying, what you say, the serenity prayer
Every morning.
every morning,
Every morning.
understanding like I can only control Michelle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I cannot, in that fight, and it exhausted me.
Mhm.
It overwhelmed me. So yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm not as much as and I love it. It's just I still fight, but I do it a little differently. I do it by doing my job real
Right.
well.
Mhm.
I do it by loving the community that I
Yes.
serve.
Mhm.
I fight by showing up, me and Jackie working together to build a center in a vulnerable community with vulnerable people, and we come to work every day focused, setting goals, making plans. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we are now,
Yeah, and speaking on what you just said, that you can only control yourself. The other part of that is not allowing them to have control.
Yeah.
And I'm right now at that point, not allowing them to have control because they've had control for so long.
Yes.
And they've silenced you.
For so
And
long.
they don't silence her no more. No
I know
more.
that's right.
And if it wasn't for Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
I would still be suffering in silence.
Wow. Because I don't think these responses are always bad. Like sometimes when you hear fight, you think, oh, something bad. It's like, no, you can fight and be standing up for someone. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, these people protesting and different things like that.
Right.
It's a cause, for them to do that. When we fight, sometimes that's the best response. Let me get on out of here because it can go real left, and even freeze.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just do nothing because I feel like sometimes we freeze when we don't know
What to do.
and how we may react. Like, if I fight, I might get locked up. If I flight, I might get locked up because I got to do something, bad to flight. Like, I don't know. Like, you just, you don't know how you may respond to something. So the best thing might be just to freeze, to take that breather and say, hold on, let me think things through. Sometimes you got to sleep on things. Like, I know my mom, I'm a finish. But as my mom was going through this, it was like I feel like I woke up to her fighting. Went to sleep to her fighting. But it's just like I felt, you felt like, okay, this is what she needs to do in this moment to get over whatever hump, or because this is like 9 years, or if we could say 31 years worth of stuff that's built up that has to be released. You know what I'm saying? So it don't have to be negative, the fight, flight, and freeze. It doesn't always have to be negative responses too. They might be healthy depending on the situation.
Right. And it's ironic that you bring that up because recently I spoke to someone who was a former city employee, and he stood up for someone that was being bullied on the job, and then they targeted him.
See?
Right.
They were bullying him, retaliating against him, and he had to leave that job. He couldn't deal with it anymore,
Yeah.
I mean, I have a good friend that works for the Philadelphia police. And she reported apparently a person died in police custody. And upon her investigation, she recognized that the police were in the wrong.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
She reported it. It has been horrible since.
Mm.
And I have watched her struggle. I have watched her cry. We have had moments where we've all just gotten a circle praying around her because it's just been, it's so crazy when you get punished for doing the right thing.
Right.
And she
Mm.
kept saying, like, you would have thought I killed this kid.
Mhm.
The way they are bullying me, the way they are
Mhm.
targeting me, the way they are, preventing me from getting promoted. She
Mhm.
said, this is, and it really is a bit of a mind F. I'm not going to cuss.
Yes.
But it really messes your brain up
Yeah.
and your
Yes.
mental health. And it has changed the way she interacts with colleagues.
Mhm.
It has changed the way she interacts with leadership.
Mhm.
And it has changed her trajectory
Wow.
in the police department. Like, she
Mhm.
had goals. Like, she got degrees. Because she wanted to make a difference
Right.
in the police department.
Mhm.
And they're not going to let her.
No.
They're not going to let her. And they the way they block her,
Mhm.
and we have had letter writing campaigns. We have done all the things.
Mhm.
And they are going to make sure that she doesn't get promoted.
Yeah.
They're going to make sure that she doesn't make it to the top because they don't want to change the organizational culture.
It's a culture. Yep. Mhm.
And that's a wrap for today's conversation about fight, flight, and freeze. Understanding how we respond to stress is the first steps in learning how to navigate it with more awareness and control. Remember, your reactions aren't weaknesses, they're survival instincts shaped by your experiences. But healing means giving yourself the tools to respond in ways that serve you, not just protect you. If this episode resonated with you, share with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, stay aware, and keep showing up for your healing. And remember, queens shouldn't have to heal alone.
Amen.
Me, I mean, no offense, I'm finding out jealousy, only a lack of confidence. Focused on me more, focused on you less. Everybody do that, look around and we blessed. Today, smile on my face, may not go my way, still got my face, so I'll be okay.